An artist always begins with the basics. It's not easy, learning to figure out your style, starting off simple, exploring different techniques, and learning from all the people you admire. You begin to create different depths and colors and lines, sketches, just to find who you are in your art. Today, I want to kind of explore what it took for me to get to that point. How many drawings does it take? How much practice do you need? It might not take much if you have the eye and the skill set. But for most of us, it's about exploring what you can do and what you can learn. And I've tried them all. I enjoy them all. As you can see with my pieces, they are vastly different, and they touch different types of history, different poses, different emotions, which means something to me. So as you try to learn different techniques, I hope that you keep an open mind to trying something new and building your skill set, so that way you can express your art in the ways that you want to express. My name is Joshua Lamb. I'm an ink artist, and today I'm going to show you some of the projects that have built up my career, have built up my talent, but also express the things that I want to showcase in the future of art for me. So join me now as I go through my simple portfolio and explain what this is all about. Hi everyone, if you're just joining me, my name is Joshua Lamb. I'm an artist, and today we're going to be going over the progress of my ink and me practicing and some plans for 2024 and moving forward with some projects. Now, I wanted to start out by saying if you like my content, please like and subscribe. That will help me out as an artist, that's for sure. But let's just jump into it. So a couple years ago, someone mentioned that I should do Inktober. I didn't really know what that was. I'm not huge on social media, so I figured, okay, well, let me look into it. And I found it was really cool to give you these little prompts that say, like, you know, with one word, like fish or festival or brown or something, and you have to kind of draw that out with ink. And I love doing ink. Ink is one of those amazing skill sets that teach you to be confident in your work. It teaches you to be very direct with what you want to put out on paper, but also is very forgiving if you know how to use it. A lot of people think when you put down ink, it's done and it's over. Well, there's a lot of mistakes that a lot of ink artists will always do. In fact, all these have mistakes in them, and it's actually changed and altered the piece. But most of the time it's for the better, because my imagination will grow, my strengths in developing the creative process also expands, and I'm going to try to explain that a little bit today. So, excuse my dog, he's right underneath me and he's breathing heavy and doing whatever he's doing, scratching right now. But a long time ago, they had these prompts here, and one of them was, I think this was spider. So I made the spider woman, I think it was, and a native indigenous spider lady. The spider's right there. It's kind of hard to see. Maybe I have a magnifying glass and you can see it. I wonder. Can you see it? Not very well, but it's right there. It's right here. Maybe it's better on this camera. Eh? Eh? No, it just gets blurrier. I thought I could use a magnifying glass to help. And then I went into doing a little bit more of a this was more of a comic book style. This one here started to turn into more of a cartoon and anime style. I just wanted to play. I think it was freeze was the thing, and I just had everything freezing as this big rock ice monster was just blasting through the these characters. I mean, he's done for pretty much, and these guys can't run away. This monster's destroying them all. Very fun little piece. I mean, these pieces are very tiny. They're not very big, but I like to detail, and one of my styles is detail. I love detail. As you can see here, the fish here is a little bit more cartoony as well. I had this idea to play with a Ghibli kind of drawing style. I think the word was festival, So I did a fish festival in China kind of thing with these two guys kind of hopping over each other, and then there's this dead fish on the ground. You know, it's kind of playful and fun. And then Ivy, I thought of Poison Ivy from Batman, and I kind of want to give her my own twist, which was fun. Now, you can see the style here is all kind of different. They don't really stay 100%. They don't stay exactly the same, and I do different styles because I like to learn. And learning how to do different styles in ink is very important because you never know when you're going to have to pull that out and use it to create the effect that you want to create. Now we'll move on to the next page, and I don't know what these dots are. Where are these dots coming from? I don't know. I don't know what these are from. But let's pull this out. Here. So I moved on to something a little bit more simpler. This is kind of a very simple drawing, very clean line work. There's no real shading. The idea was to scan this into my iPad and actually color this in. And I still intend on doing that, but I have yet to do it for whatever reason. The word was blade. I wrote that one down. Indiana Jones. We all know this scene. I'm a big fan of Indiana Jones, and I think the word was steel. I don't remember. But this one was more of a practice of doing line work going straight down, and most of the lines are all going straight down. There's a couple going at an angle here, but you can see it has this fluid motion pulling the image downwards, and it makes it have more movement to the whole entire image. I get a little sloppy doing this one here. The word was wolf, I think, or catch. So you can see here that I did this one. I used a different type of pen. Now, let me go over the pen work pens that I use. I use Microns often. I often use Micron. In fact, that's my go-to pen. And if Micron wants to sponsor me, I will not say no, because these pens are not cheap. The Micron 01 is my normal go-to pen. This one will accomplish a lot of your lines. It's as thin as you probably want it most of the time. Now, if you're going to the hyper detail and things that are very fine, which I do, and I'll get to a little bit later, I'll move over to the 005 or the 0.03, which is very tiny. But those you need to be more delicate. But on average, I will start with the 1. And then, of course, if I wanted to go thicker, here's the 005 for a much thinner line work. Now this pen here, you're going to see are up here. It's very faded. The 1 is going to be more of, well, the mountains right here is a 1. And then, of course, you have a brush. The brush is very handy for coloring and everything, but I didn't actually use this brush because there was an artist named Kim Jung-gi who was becoming, finally having his work recognized and on the international stage. And rest in peace, because the poor guy was just hitting his pinnacle while he had a heart attack. I think that was a heart attack. Passed away, and amazing artist he was, but he gave a lot of people inspiration and taught a lot of people how to do perspective drawing, and in which I bought this pen because of him, because I enjoyed his style. And so I practiced it here. You can see a lot of this, the shadows here are just kind of a rough brush in to give the effect of fur. And I could still go in here and clean up some work too. You gotta remember, no drawing is ever finished. No matter what you say or think, it's never finished, because you can always adapt. And I think Da Vinci said that, something like that. Paraphrasing, of course. But yeah, this is an amazing pen to do such things and really explore it. It is the Brush Pen No. 22. You can find these in Japanese stores and art stores and Chinese stores too for calligraphy and art. But you can see here, these are 3 different styles too. Each time I did Inktober, my goal was to practice a new style, practice a new technique, and I highly encourage this because it really will develop your skill sets faster. If you're going to do Inktober, try a different style each time. If you like doing your style and you've already found your style, hey, you do you. I am not a man to say otherwise. But if you haven't, in which I haven't done ink for a while, and I wanted to really test my skills in different genres and whatnot. So here, let me take this middle one out. It's kind of blocking. think this was my very first one. It's very sloppy. Yeah, my wife and I. That's what that was. Romantic. Okay. But here we go on to something a little more simple. I did this piece, which actually got me a lot more likes than anything else, which is weird. But I think people like simple things. I think it was floral tooth. I don't know what it was, honestly. Maybe it was just tooth. Fun, easy, simple. Could be a good tattoo. I don't know. And this one was Frankenstein. I think it was for Halloween. I think Inktober, yeah, obviously Halloween. I was going for more of a darker thing. This is just a playful of doing this type of pin work that's more of a circle. Let me explain. I'm going to go ahead and use some paper that I've already been drawing on earlier. This was just some hand studies that I was doing. And we're going to use the bigger, thicker pin, the 5. This is a little bit thicker so you can see it on screen. But the technique that I was using for this one here, this piece, was not only I was doing cross hatching and normal kind of shading like this, right, to get the effect I needed, but I would also do a couple of these little squirrely things. And I was testing out how to shade like this. You would lift up, you would press harder, you would go more compact with the swirls if you needed to form something. For example, if I was going to shade in the hand here with this swirl technique, it'd be like this. I would do a couple of the darker swirls closer to where the shadows would be, and then I would open up and really kind of expand the shading and then get closer. And this would give the same effect. The only issue with this is that it's harder to control and it doesn't give the effect that I want to tell the viewer what the hand is actually doing, but it is very fun. And I can still, of course, blend it with other styles of ink, like this, to kind of give the viewer what they need to see to understand what the image is, right? And you could just continue that way, and voila, you have a little bit of shading. And you can, if you want to just continue, you can do this. But you want to remember to leave some white space so the eye can catch on to the image. You can even color it in dark. This is a fun little thing to do. It's a good thing to practice, and it kind of reminds me of line art when you're drawing. You don't want to pick up your pen and you want to draw something. Like if I was going to draw a nose, people would do this and then come around and then lip, and then you come back, get to the eyes, right? Not picking up your pen, but it teaches you how to be confident in the pen work. So now that you understand that style, go back to the drawings. Now the next one was a chinchilla. I think, oh, the word was rodent. So I drew a chinchilla. Honestly, I don't remember if chinchillas are rodents, but they're the cutest little thing. My sister had one. Fluffiest little guy in the world. Amazing. Definitely could have made an amazing purse out of him. I would never do that though. But here I was trying to figure out how many thin lines. Now this one was actually done with the Copic 03, my smallest, thinnest pen. I highly recommend this pen if you want to get into this kind of detail. It lasts forever. This pen will last you forever, it feels like. I haven't changed this in years. Until recently when I started making some lines for the Spartan drawing, which we'll get into in a little bit. I was using the ruler and I was trying to follow the lines of the ruler just like this. Take the pen out and then draw. And that ruined the tip of the felt tip. So keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Don't do the ruler thing. So I actually have another style of doing it, and this is my crystal or glass, what do you call this, triangle or whatever, prism. It's actually really good for photography and videography because it allows a very cool color change. Maybe I can pull it off. I think there's too many fingerprints on it. But going along this, which has a softer edge, and it also has a spacing between the bottom there, doesn't really hurt the pen. And that's really cool to think about if you're going to be having pens that you want to protect and utilize. And then we move on to Shipwreck. This was an era which I was doing a lot of crypto art for people, and I wanted to do a pen and ink of the Bitcoin kind of treasure underneath the ocean and death of a ship and sharks floating around ready to eat it. It's very complicated, hard to see a lot of what's happening, and that's because, well, the pen work was so fine and detailed. Again, maybe this thing will help you see it better. Oh, there's a shark. There's the treasure chest, Bitcoin, and the ship. And for this camera, yeah. Very fun. I enjoyed these little drawings. But at this point in my art, oh, I never actually went over to the dragon. I apologize. The dragon here was fun because I was really trying to replicate another artist who does dragons with these little dots scales, and I wanted to use some negative space for the smoke and whatnot. I really like this one. I do. I think I would want to have this to the full spread. Maybe even color it would be nice, but we haven't gotten to that. I don't do color very often. And then here was the most recent. This is just doodle, but here is my most recent Horus penciling and inking on my live stream. You can actually watch that on video if you go to my live stream channel on YouTube, which is Inktology, which I'm guessing you know because you're on it right now. But here I'm trying to create a historical reference for my art as well as for all the, this one bothers me because it's colored. It is supposed to be this playful comic strip newsletter, or newspaper. I like to do political art and kind of joking with I don't know how to explain it. Back in the day when newspapers would come out, they would have a lot of political art kind of ripping into the presidents and the politics of things, and it was just very humorous and abstract, and I enjoy that kind of art. It's very fun for me, satires and all. But this one with Horus was a fun way for me to practice some simple cross-hatching as well as some different pens and using for the techniques of point dots and points, and merging it with pencil on the side to give this kind of faded, like, archived look of a drawing. I don't have many more in this, but we'll move into the bigger pieces. Now, this may not look that fancy and great to you, in which it's not meant to be, but my art style has actually changed quite a bit throughout the years, and since I was in high school, it's changed a lot. And I'm going to show you some stuff that I started out. So if you're wondering, you know, this stuff is highly skilled, and you know, if it's impossible to do, if you're starting out as an artist, know that it's a progress, and it's a fun progress, so you don't have to be scared of it. You can actually enjoy failing a lot. And I have a live stream that's called I think it's Permission to Fail. Listen to it, watch it. It'll hopefully encourage you that failing is the only way to move forward, and there's no reason not to be afraid. There's no reason to be afraid of trying things. So over here I have a piece that I did that was with different pens and different colored pens. There were different types of gray. I don't know where they're at right now, but they're here around here somewhere. And this piece right here is an abstract. You can't really tell what it is, but there's a face of this looking that direction of a vampire eating a goldfish while this monkey miner, I don't know what it was, is there. But this is me failing at just trying to do new concepts and new design with line work. I mean, it's not really failed once you see it, because then you might be like, oh, how did you fail? And to explain failing, I don't really mean you're failing anything, but failing means attempting something and not being afraid of it not becoming what you want it to look like from the original thought. So I'm bringing to you one of my older drawings. This was in 2005. Right after I got out of high school, I was accepted into the Art Institute of Houston, and I had to present a few drawings real quick, so I just threw things together. Now, I graduated in 2002, but I got really lazy and went out and adventured and worked and had fun for a little bit, in which Art Institute though I was accepted, and I even drove to school the first day of class and turned around because I just didn't want to pay that amount of money to learn something that I could learn freely and more availably elsewhere. If you think that you should go to art school, I may be indifferent, but I think you shouldn't. I don't think it's going to teach you anything. I think it's a great place to meet community. I think it's a great place to probably make connections for artists and stuff like that. And if you need to go to art school for like 3D animation, computer tech stuff that does art, yeah, that is a great degree to have. But if you're an ink artist, comic book artist, someone who just likes to do their own style, there's no need. Today's day, you just need to get on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, wherever you need to be, and just pump out your work. The thing is you're not trying to capture everyone on Earth's desire for your art. You only need one person to enjoy it, and that should be enough. Now, it might not bring you a lot of money, but you got to remember that you're doing art because you love art. This piece here is actually kind of cool. So, within the context of me drawing a lot of religious art, this one here is about the desire of lust, right? I wanted to draw lust in a format that I think people felt like it was like a gross demonic kind of thing attaching to the idea of a beautiful woman, an angelic woman at that. I added color in here because this was meant to be her being a very colorful and vibrant subject, while there was something dark and creepy behind, and the rest will be black with like more of like a rain design to it and splatter. I put a snake, the serpent, inside the chest of this character. And a lot of this actually comes from the designs of, I think it was Parasite Eve or the video game Resident Evil. I really like detail and I really like to do intricate line work. And you can see that very clearly here with some of the lines into the skin. And then the simplicity of her, right? This was something I should have completed. Some of the pieces that I needed to learn about art, and I learned a lot of shading through an artist from Soul Saga, the comic book Soul Saga. I really enjoy the artist. I can't think of his name right now, but if I do, I'll let you know. Or maybe I'll put it in the comments down below or in the description. Now, Soul Saga was a comic book that the artist used a technique that I still think is phenomenal today of shading, because it actually puts... Where's my pen? There we go. The cool technique about this art here is that, let's say I had a muscle, or let's just use the hands for example, it'll be easier. I could easily do cross-hatching and do the line work here to make the shadows, and then just deepen it, make it thicker, and so forth, or spread out the lines. That's a simple way of doing things, a common way. Well, for this artist, he would do something a little bit different. He would, if there was a crease right here, he would do this and then kind of come from the center and move outwards. And this was really neat for me. You can see it more clearly here with some of these lines. You see the thicker line would be on top and the lighter one would be on bottom, and it would still create this shading that you need. And then a lot more right here where it would merge. His style of cross-hatching was new to me. I don't know. This was 2001, I think. I drew this. I think I was in 9th grade or something. It must have been in 9th grade, I guess. I was graduated 2002, but I graduated a year. I don't know how that math works. I think it was 9th. 9th or 10th. 9th. I think it's 9th. I don't know. Anyways, I really enjoyed Soul Saga because the line work was really good, but also the characters had such a crazy build of muscle, and the way he used fabric was very comic book and mixed between Marvel's style of drawing and muscular work and DC's. I feel like I see a lot more of this in DC artists, but could be wrong. Times have changed. And then he also applied a little bit of I feel like a Todd McFarlane dot system, or maybe I put that in there, but there's like these little dots here and there, and kind of circles. Fantastic art. Great comic book series. Got this whole like hierarchy thing going on, and kind of like a new age soldier. And let me put all my pins up before they roll off the table. Here's another one from the same comic book series. I just manipulated the character a little bit to be more of what I wanted it to be, which is a lot of fun to do. You can see the same patterns as before in the cross-hatching techniques. This character just looks like he just got out of battle. He's on his knees about to like get back up and destroy somebody. But this was all about 2001. This one actually was, it says 2003. So this must have been right after I graduated. I was just doodling around with the same comic style. And the fingers, I really enjoyed the fingers and the way they just kind of bulge out and kind of over. I mean, that's an absurd hand, absolutely absurd glove, but that time was cool. But this was my style back in high school. And then I think I moved into another piece here. Let's pull this out. This was done on my phone. I got a Samsung Note, and it comes with a pen, which is very cool. And I just had an idea for a samurai, and I really wanted to practice with a little bit of just simple brushstrokes, calligraphy style brushstrokes. And even though that looks like it's done with an actual, probably this, it's not. It's done with it's done with this in my phone. If you're an artist, I recommend getting the Samsung Notes. They are phenomenal for drawing, and they're very responsive. Okay, now this piece here needs to be watercolored. So this piece here is one of my, I did this in watercolor so I can paint it later and practice some, maybe I'll do gouache, I'm not really sure yet. And this is kind of a piece on hold, about the end of the world. I have a video on YouTube as well on this drawing alone, on how I drew it and everything about it and the story of the end of the world. You can see here we have we can have people shopping, you know, dead people here, running away from zombies and a nuclear explosion. And this man is supposed to be representing kind of America, and this man over here is supposed to be representing foreign power. And kind of we have, you know, it's taking from the tiger, which is also a foreign entity in representation, how we utilize certain technology and make deals, and he's a colonel, and you know, politics. I'm big into drawing political art and things that kind of satires and whatnot, like I mentioned before. And this is one of my favorite pieces too, because it's just fun. Hard to understand, I guess, unless you look into it. But the style here is actually interesting because I use a lot more clean line work here, and I also leave a lot more space open. And this is because I imagine I was going to paint the thing, and I still tend on painting it. I just haven't got around to doing it because I really want to work on some of my religious ink art. But the further I go in the background, I would do less details. The further I come closer to the viewer, you'll see that I get more detailed here. This is a simple way of just building depth. You could also just black it all out too. It depends on your style. But this here was more of a finalization of understanding my style of work and trying to figure out how to pursue forward. For 2024, my style is going to take a lot from this, where there's different intersecting cross-hatching techniques, as well as just viewpoints, the angle of it all. Because the angle shooting out that direction, the angle shooting that direction. Now it's not 100% perfect perspective, but it gives the point of view of almost two different things happening at once. And this paper here is a watercolor paper. It's very thick. It wasn't that easy to draw on because it is a little bit textured. So the pen did not, I had to kind of push down a little bit harder, and I couldn't get into deep shading. And then we have some other styles of ink that I do. This one here was done a couple years ago for a art class that was being done at the place I was working at. I was a visual designer for a company, and there was this foreign guy coming in and wanted to have a logo, I guess, or something, kind of explain drawing religious art for people and teaching them how to make an animation. So I drew a guy at a desk and all these different stories intertwining to create, you know, the stories that they wanted to do. Now this was done on Procreate. This was not done in pen. And you could probably see because there's a lot more darkness and the lines are extremely clean. That's because, you know, I'm using a digital format to draw these things. Now, this is very different from most of my other work, but I'm still learning and playing and just letting my brain go out there. I did not have a plan for this. I just went for it. And then my pencil work, this was done on a piece of paper at work when on my off time of, is this David? I think it's David. I don't know. I forget. Eating the apple. I mean, I made him into a kind of Adam eating the apple, but it's, I think, the statue of David. Now, pencil work is what I was trained in originally, and that's what I did most of my life, but ink is my dear love and baby. Oh yeah, look at this comic book. I worked on a comic book back in, or I started designing a comic book back when I was, this had to be 2002. This is like 20-something years ago. My goodness, 22 years ago. You can see here I used some of the techniques from the Soul Saga artist to create this. This comic was about the boxer, a kickboxer, I mean. And you have him running down the alleyway. You can see here another panel on the top view panel. This is me trying to color. Now, I shouldn't have colored this with marker because I had no idea what I was doing. I think I was just bored and I wanted to see it. I didn't really care about this panel. I wanted to redo it because it wasn't really, it didn't have any movement to it and it was very stagnant. This is a mess. This is a failed page altogether. You know, you have him running, he thinks he sees somebody, oh my goodness, and then whack, he gets hit by an arm, the guy goes flying, and then he picks him up, and then he's holding him, about to chop him in half, and the next scene would be maybe a car hitting him to save his day. If you're wondering what I started out to when I was little, though, when I was in 4th grade, I think it was, I met my artist who is working with me on the trading card game right now, Jesse Perry. Great artist, doesn't put out enough content because he's, you know, he's an artist. Artists are shy. But there was a time where I had a lot of comic book art, and this was, I think this was when I was in 4th grade. 4th or 5th grade, I drew covers for comic books, and this was Captain America up here, and you had Cable down here, and this is pencil, right? So I was probably like 10 or 12, I don't know what I was. I know I was super young because I got rid of all my comic books when I was in the 5th grade due to the church that I attended thinking that they were of Satan. So they made me throw away all my first editions and collectibles and all my unopened toys. And that's a whole different story. But I did have some pieces of art that stayed with me. This one I think I ripped up because I got so angry at something that I did it and I wanted to start over. I shouldn't have done it, and please don't ever do that to your artwork because you never know when you want to look back and just see your style change. It's changed a lot. You don't see any lines that I did before in this as I do on this next panel here, which is, now we're 2024, the style that I have created. Now, you can see I've done the swirls here as a texture. I've done the dots, and I've done the cross hatching. Now I've done the line work. Everything that you've seen up to this point has been accumulated into this piece of art. And this was also a test for fun for a steampunk, oh my goodness, a steampunk cowboy. I have a video on this as well on YouTube, so you can definitely look back at this. But everything that I've been showing you kind of shows you in the last couple of years I've been trying to figure out which technique would work, and this is it in combination. You can see the lines here up here, going from dark to light. This will have it all, this one panel right here. And I wanted to test my abilities with horses and animals and the fur, differentiating the fur from fabric to leather. Oh, this one's leather, and then, or wool, then leather, and then steel and metals, right? Because steampunk has a lot of copper and bronze things, and then smoke up here has its own special design to give the idea of flowing and a mixture of liquid. All right, so there's other ways you can do artwork. Here is my colorful Jesus drawing I did with a marker, purely just marker. I won't go into that, but here's one that I did with this pen again, just to show you the ability that this pen can create. Not that one. This one here, which is the brush pen. I could really fill in a lot of colors here, but also this pen allows for a very spotty gray. If you just know how to tap it on and not go too far, it can look like bruises and cuts and shadows. Really diverse to use this, and very good. But even as I would do this fully with this brush, I would end up going back with it with a very smaller fine detail of the 0.3 to put in shading where I need to and just more details. And it'd be very complicated just like the one before. So if you're wondering what kind of style you want to do, the style also comes from practicing and playing with other styles. Once you've done enough, you'll figure out, like, oh, I just don't like that. I just don't like it at all, and I don't want to do it. And then you move along and actually apply certain things. But because you practiced it, if you ever need it, it comes in handy. And that's what most of my drawings here do. I need to finish this one. I need to finish this color for Jesus one too. Also, right after high school, or in high school, I think it was after high school, I went to Egypt, and I was on the plane, and I just wanted to draw this Egyptian dude I saw from the Nat Geo. I think it was Nat Geo. But this is pencil work I had done 2003, 4, I don't know. The idea was that he was in love with his camel so much. He was an air pilot, you know, retired air pilot for the Egyptian Air Force, and he traveled the deserts with his camel, and he was in love, and he was giving his camel flowers. I mean, who wouldn't, right? Like I said, I don't do much pencil work anymore, but you can kind of see how my pencil work is a little bit kind of playful. It's on the verge of comic book / realism. It's not too realistic. I can do realism. It just takes me a lot longer because obviously I need time to do it. And I'm an impatient man. And 2 years ago, I think it was, yeah, 2022. One of my favorite animes is Akira. If you haven't watched it, go watch it right now. Your life will be better for it. My wife was learning watercolor, and I wanted to see if I could create some watercolor anime stuff too. So I drew up Tetsuo and Akira, and Tetsuo Kaneda, my bad. This is from the movie Akira. I don't have Akira in this image, but Tetsuo goes nuts. He starts morphing and blobs, and he becomes this big creature, and Kaneda's got this laser gun. And you know what I did forget? I forgot the laser beam right there in the dead center. I was supposed to put a bright bluish white, man. See? There's things that no art is ever finished. You got to remember that. So if you think you finished a piece and you're masterful, 10 years later, you're going to look back and go, man, I forgot something, or I should have done this. But this is a great piece. Actually, I might, I have a video on this one, but I thought about selling this panel. It's not I didn't create Akira, and I think it'd be unfair for me to sell anything that's not my full creation. I'm trying to see if I have any other pieces in here, but I don't. Oh, I do have some. But those are for another time. Okay. So have you found your style? It took me a very long time to really come comfortable with my style, even though I kind of knew what it was. And you may be in the same boat. But don't be afraid to practice other people's styles and play. Don't get stagnant in them, because what ends up happening, if you do, your creativity stays within that realm. And if you don't practice other things and play, you're just really stunting your creativity in many ways. Not saying that you can't create amazing art with your one specific style, but I would beckon you to try different. As I do the live stream on YouTube of this Spartan tattoo, it was meant to be very simple. Well, that's what the request was, but I didn't listen to him. I just said, hey, I want to do what I want to do. I like Frank Miller. Frank Miller's an amazing artist. He knows how to use negative space better than I think most comic book artists. But I wanted to play with the movie 300 and some of the scenes, and then this scene. This wasn't frozen. I created the scene. This is actually my body I don't look this ripped. That's not what I'm saying. This is me kneeling, and I took a photo at this angle so I can have the form and everything kind of proportional and correct, right? If I was this ripped, I don't think I'd walk around with a shirt on, you know what I mean? But this scene here was taken from, I took a screenshot of the movie 300 and then kind of manipulated a little bit to make it what I wanted it to look like. But I really needed to see what the hair was going to look like, as well as the eyebrows. It's one of those hard things. Eyes are hard to do if you don't have it right, and especially if you're applying shadow to it. But yeah, here I play with the different cross-hatching techniques, and even the cape is a fabric crosshatch, so there's a little bit of a difference between the skin and that from the shading perspective. And then of course the metal will have different types of techniques of pointillism to give this more of a dot metallic feel. But we're still continuing this one. Watch me on YouTube, and if you haven't, like and subscribe to my channel. That way you can be updated every single day that I do a piece. You'll be there. And on live, I just kind of explore my thoughts, and if you have questions, I answer them, comments, and whatnot. And then finally, to my finalized technique, which has been from, well, where did it go? My current technique is working with a pen that many of you might know as like calligraphy pens and whatnot. And the style is, which this piece isn't fully finished. I've been working on this for a year because I have been trying to figure out the history fully before I make the video. But this is the pen that I use for this. It's a dipping pen. Where's my ink? I use a Deleter Black 4. This is a very nice ink. It's not a perfect ink though, just to let you know. It is a Japanese ink. But the reason why I use this is because it's really good for comic pages and comic books. Now, it's not a perfect ink, and the reason why I'm saying that is because if you overdo it, you'll see a shine and a shimmer in certain areas. I don't know if I can show it on camera. I'll try. Not doing a very good job of it. Let's see if I can do that. That doesn't help either. But this is fun because I'm using every technique I have that I've learned, but also keeping it extremely complicated, very cluttered. I really like the cluttered look because what happens here is that the image, once it's overwhelmed with different styles and different inking techniques, what your eyes are now doing, what it will do, is you'll notice the people in it right away. That's going to be the easiest because they'll be less detailed as everything else. But what you can do is go into this painting and start looking at all these small details, this drawing, and start picking away at little hints and secrets that I have laid in it. You know, the person, the creatures in the back, and the animals, and the fruits, and the jewelry that has symbols on them, as well as some of the random little things that tell the story when you look into it. And I believe that's my style at its fullest. So after so many years, even after from middle school to high school to college and to my professional years, I have tried all these different things. Even you saw with my Inktober, I just was playing around again to figure out where I stood. I found that allowing the mind to utilize all your techniques that you've learned, but not being held and bound by them, your art piece will start telling the story of who you are. Because your viewers will start seeing what you're trying to do through the fact that you're just releasing all this information onto the page. Now for me, I really release a lot of information, and I enjoy that. We have a demon up here with a snake eating the demon. We have a little bow thing for the back of her hair. She has a headband. Her ring's got olive branches on it. She's got the symbols of Kings of Solomon and all these kind of other things. Maybe the King of Solomon's ring is not in this one, but it has to tell the story of the Philistines or the sea people, how they're trying to trick Samson, who is in his place, married to Delilah, who's got her knife ready. It's just a normal knife. I mean, it probably was, an actual blade that would cut through hair, but, how do we know we know? And so I'm trying to fill in that data and that information for the story when I explain it. Now, this is a piece that'll be done hopefully within the next month or two. But if you want to see a final piece of what it looks like whenever it's completed at its fullest, we have here one of my better works, which will be on sale on my website on inkology.com. This is the Native American or indigenous drawing of one of 6 I believe I'm doing. Story of Columbus and the colonization of the native people of South America moving out to North America, Central America, North America. You can see here I have the conquistadors. I have a child with a wolf down here below. The chief being torn apart. Christianity dominating its way into the region. And just a lot of brutality and scalping and things that were done by Europeans and taught by Europeans. And this was to help the misunderstandings of what indigenous people were. I think there's a lot of lack of history for the indigenous. And I'm working with the indigenous right now to create a documentary as well as a really, really profound website that will give everyone who's an indigenous person as well as not the ability to communicate the truth. And the honest truth is that America has hidden the truth in order to maintain land and dominance over the country since the get-go. That's just the truth. It's just, and it's, you know, the documentary I'm working on is about residential schools, and we have some survivors that have talked about it. And to think that this was still going on even up to the late 90s, that they closed down the last residential school, it's very sad. It's very extremely sad. But it needs to be told because we fight for a lot of causes in North America, but we never seem to have fought for the original cause for the original people who lived here. I hope that makes sense. But this art is one of those pieces that has so much complicated things going in it that you'll find something new every time you look at it. As a kid, I was really intrigued with those, what is it called, magic eye pictures. When you look at it, you kind of cross your eyes and then you see what's in it. Once I learn how to do that, I'm going to implement that. But you can see there's like a wild cat up here. There's a indigenous man. There's a baby back here, and all kinds of things, all kinds of little hints and secrets that I've placed into this image that hopefully you'll find intriguing. Now, a lot of this was done with the Copic Multiliner 0.03. Absolutely phenomenal. All right. And so that's it for the drawing, and I really appreciate you watching and learning. But for 2024, I will be sticking with this style of art and pursuing more complicated pieces as we go. I'm not going to be doing any more murals. I'm not going to be doing any of that stuff unless I get hired for the job. So I'm not going to be out there seeking for it. I think I would just rather be creating religious and historical art for people to enjoy. So if you like my art and you like this style and you want to be encouraged for your work, I'll be putting out more work every day. Later on today, I'll be doing about an hour stream with a Spartan, and you can watch there. But if you also want to support me, you can support me on Patreon. I'll have that up soon too as well. But for right now, just like and subscribe, share the videos, and that'll be a great, cool blessing to me. I appreciate it. I appreciate you. And yeah, let me know what you think. Let me know what your style is. Send me a link in the comments to your Instagram or your YouTube channel of your drawings. I love to be communal. I love to help others as well as, you know, promote all of these other artists who want to do these amazing things. I thank you, and I hope that you have a wonderful, beautiful day and the rest of your week. And just remember, you're a creative person, so create.